Hey guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today I am recommending some comfort reading, because we could all use it right now. Everything is kind of stressful right now. We are in the midst of the coronavirus outbreak here in the UK and across the world, and it's not the best time. Everyone is stressed out, people are stockpiling, people like me are participating in social distancing. I haven't really left the house much in a week, and there's really kind of no end in sight. And if you have anxiety or any other mental illness, if you're immunocompromised, if you're a human, it's a stressful time. So I was thinking that it might be nice to recommend some comfort reads. And I did kind of steal this idea from my sister, so thank you, Julia. But I think because you guys are here, you probably feel the same way I do, and that reading is such a wonderful escape, and it's a way to kind of leave everything behind for a little while and just fall into a new world. So that's kind of what we all need right now, I think. So I am going to recommend some comfort reads, some books that I really love, and I would love to hear what some of yours are as well. So let's get started. First off is an obvious one. I feel like I should just get her out of the way. Of course, The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers is a wonderful form of escape. Download some beautiful, wonderful gay found family into your head and escape for a while. It's just a wonderful book. I really enjoy these, obviously, and I feel like especially the first one, because it is this crew of this spaceship on this long journey, sort of living together and dealing with different cultures kind of clashing, people finding new friends and, lovers and all of that. It's just a beautiful book, and it's perfect for like this time in 2019. So if you haven't read this yet, go ahead and pick it up. It's wonderful. Even if you're not a sci-fi reader, it's truly a wonderful book. The next comfort read that I would recommend is one of my childhood favorites. I adore this book, and I think that this book has a lot of impact on the person that I am today and my love of words and reading. And while this bothers me because it isn't the edition that I had as a child, it's a truly beautiful book, and I'm so happy that I have this in my hands again. This is The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. If you are, I think, North American, you might recognize the cover. I'll see if I remember to put it on the screen, but it's like blue, and it has Milo and Talk the Watchdog kind of staring each other down, and it's very sweet, and this book is just amazing. I might actually reread this. It's basically the story of a boy named Milo, and he's depressed, basically. He's very down, kind of life is starting to lose meaning, he doesn't enjoy things anymore. So he comes home from school one day, there's this giant gift package in his house, and he's like, okay. So he unwraps it, and there's this little, basically, toy toll booth. Those like cars that I always wanted as a kid, like the Barbie cars, you could like actually drive around in them. It's like a toll booth to go with one of those. So he hops in his car that he has, and he drives through, and it transports him to a magical land where everything is super literal. So we have, for example, the city of Dictionopolis, where people literally eat their words. And they have the word marketplace where you can buy different letters, and so letters like A and I are really tasty, and they taste really great, so people use them all the time. But letters like X and Z are kind of gross, which is why people don't use them very often. They, eat their words. They have this wonderful feast at some point where, they're eating square meals and ragamuffins and things like that, and it's just lovely. It's just delightful. There's also a mathematics city, which obviously didn't speak much to me as a kid, but the whole purpose of this book is to find Rhyme and Reason, who are two princesses who have been banished to a castle in the sky, and they go on this adventure, and it's wonderful. I learned so many phrases like jumping to conclusions and the doldrums and all of that good stuff. It's just an amazing book. This all sounds batshit crazy if you've never read it, but I would so highly recommend this. It's one you can just kind of cuddle down with and read in a day, and it has these really lovely illustrations that go with it, which to me are just like iconic. I absolutely love them. So if you're looking for something that's really light and like pure escapism, The Phantom Tollbooth is one of my favorite books ever. Continuing on with children's books, I have the Ilana series by Tamora Pierce. I haven't read her other series. We'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, I would include those probably, but I've only read these. So Tamora Pierce is a fantastic author, and I'm gonna like try to cut this short because I always tend to ramble about Tamora Pierce and how much I love her books. She was my J.K. Rowling when I was a kid, alongside J.K. Rowling, and the Ilana books are incredible. I genuinely think about them every day of my life. And they're just, again, that kind of pure fantasy escapism. They're wonderful. And they follow a girl named Ilana who wants to be a knight. She does not want to be a lady, she wants to be a knight. So she and her twin brother switch places, and he goes off to learn magic, which is what she was meant to do, and she disguises herself as him and trains to become a knight. And she has these adventures along the way. She has her friendship that she develops with, I believe he's the crown prince, and she overcomes so much, and she's such a strong character, and like, I love these books so much. They're just wonderful, amazing reads. So I would very much recommend these if you have not read them. Again, I will talk about these a little bit more in a upcoming video that's kind of teasing things a little bit. The next comfort reads I would recommend are a little bit different from what I usually pick up. These are actually contemporary YA books, and I don't read or usually like contemporary YA. It's just not really my thing, but I totally fell in love with these because they're all about fandom and conventions, and they're fairy tale retellings. This is the Once Upon a Con series by Ashley Poston, so you don't really need to read them in order, but there's references. So we have Geekerella is the first one, which is a Cinderella retelling. The coach that she rides off in is a vegan food truck, which is hilarious. Then we have The Princess and the Fangirl, which is a Prince and the Pauper retelling. So we have a famous actress and a girl who is a fan of the character this actress plays switch places at one point during a convention, which is really fun. And then the new one, which is Bookish and the Beast, which comes out in June, and I happen to have a review copy of it. That's not why it's here. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I love these. I have such a fond place in my heart for these because I used to be a con goer. I was a veteran of New York Comic Con for years before I moved away, and she obviously loves fandom so much. If you are anyone who participates in fandoms or has ever participated in fandoms, if you are just a nerd in general, you will really enjoy these. The kind of fandom that these center on is very kind of Star Trek-esque, very Star Trek meets kind of Star Wars-esque, and they're just so fun, but they also don't shy away from the darker side of fandom, and they're just wonderful. I adore these books so much. They're really sweet, and I would very highly recommend them. I think my favorite one, I've only read the first two so far, but my favorite is Geekerella, and I'm really looking forward to Bookish and the Beast. I think it's going to be great. There's a dog in it. Next, we're going to talk about some romance books. I love romance. I don't read it very much anymore because I kind of burnt out on it. Years ago, I was an intern at a literary agency, and my boss was looking into getting into repping romance, so I read a fuckload of romance. I must have read 70 or 80 romance novels in about a 6-month period. It was a lot. But I am slowly getting back to it, and I've read a couple of things recently that I think are just wonderful. So the first one is The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics, which I believe is by Olivia Waite. I read this last year and just adored it. I devoured it so quickly. This is a historical romance, as all of the romance that I read is, and this is also an FF romance, and I have never read a romance novel featuring a relationship between two women before this book, and it was fantastic. I really loved it. So basically we follow a character named Lucy, and she sort of acted as the assistant to her father, who's kind of a gentleman astronomer, and he passes away and she doesn't really know what she's gonna do with her life. So basically one day she receives a letter from a woman named Catherine, who has continued on her husband's philanthropic, I cannot say that word, work after he has passed away. She has a great fortune, and basically she wants to translate this very famous French astronomer's books into English, and asks her father if he knows of anyone who might be able to do this. And Lucy's like, I can do that. So basically she packs her bags, shows up on this woman's doorstep and is like, hi, I'm gonna do this. And everything kind of goes from there. It's beautiful, a really beautiful book, a really wonderful romance. And I sunk into this story. I adored it. I really, really loved it. And I'm so happy I picked it up, because it might have been one that passed me by because I've not been reading a lot of romance lately. And so I very much, if you like romance and if you like historical romance, please pick this up. It's got incredibly strong women who are strong in different ways. It has sort of these women dealing with the men in their lives and their influence after both of these men have passed away. They deal with social standards. They deal with the fact that homosexuality was illegal at this time. And it's a beautiful book. I really loved it so much. And if you are going to read anything from this list, I would say pick that one up. I would also highly recommend Tessa Dare's Spindle Cove novels. I haven't read her other series yet. I'm way behind on Tessa Dare's books, but she is a fantastic, incredibly funny, witty, wonderful writer. And the one that I would recommend is actually the second in the series. It doesn't hugely matter because romance series sort of work like that. This is A Week to Be Wicked, and it's fantastic. It is so much fun. It's just an absolute delight. This book features my favorite of the ladies of Spindle Cove, Minerva Highwood, and she is a scientist. She would like to be a scientist anyway, but of course she is not allowed to be a scientist because the patriarchy and the fact that it's a historical fiction book. So basically, if I recall, she has to get to Scotland to basically present at this conference, but she hasn't really told anyone that she is female, and she has to travel on her own. However, she ends up getting mixed up with a very rakish young man named Colin Sandhurst, and they basically form this unlikely partnership to get her where she needs to go. So this makes me laugh. It says here that these unlikely partners have 1 week to fake an elopement, convince family and friends that they are in love, outrun armed robbers, survive their worst nightmares, and travel 400 miles without killing each other, all while sharing a very small carriage by day and an even smaller bed by night. So this is highly recommended if you just need to, like, unload your brain for an evening. It's so fun. Plus, I believe there's like 4 books in this series, so you can read the rest of them as well. Taking a hard left turn, we're going to a classic, which is one of my favorite books. This is Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. This is going to be a really funny one to try to explain because nothing really happens in Cranford. And if you've seen the BBC adaptation, which is very good, I believe Judi Dench is in it, that combined several of her shorter novels because nothing happens in Cranford. It is wonderful. It's basically just life in this town called Cranford that's basically only has a population of spinsters. Mostly aging spinsters. There's a few men around, but it's predominantly these older unmarried women. And it's just a beautiful book. And it has one of the most heartbreaking moments in it. And I feel like I shouldn't say this for comfort reads, but I'm still saying that this is a comfort read because it's my ultimate comfort read. It has this beautiful heartbreaking moment in it toward the end that, like, I genuinely, I think about constantly and is done beautifully in the BBC adaptation, which you should totally watch. Another really good thing to watch during this whole terrible time. And there's something about it that's so soothing. It helps me kind of switch off my brain. I have this old antique edition, which is just over there, but doesn't have an actual cover, which is why I'm not showing it here. But it's like falling apart because I bring it everywhere. I brought it when I got married, just in case I needed some soothing and calming down. I have brought it to travel to funerals. I brought it with me when I traveled to the UK. Like, this book has come with me everywhere because it's such a comfort to me and I love it. So if you're into classics and you have some patience, it's a short book, not a lot happens, but it's beautiful. And how could I make it through a Comfort Reads video without mentioning Lord of the Rings? This is my favorite series ever, as you guys probably know. And I know it's not for everyone, that's totally fine, but I think that if you've read this and you have that nostalgia, you totally understand what I'm talking about. I often pick up Fellowship and read the prologue concerning hobbits, and it's just like the most delightful, wonderful, comforting thing for me. It's just got so much wonderful imagery. It's so calming, and the Shire's obviously like an idyllic place. He created it intentionally that way, and there's something about it that just like brings me from like here to here, and it's wonderful. So if you are a fan of Lord of the Rings, just reread Concerning Hobbits over and over and over and over again. So those are my comfort reads. I tend to read a lot of books that are very stabby and deathy and murdery and dark and grim, so it was actually kind of hard to find some books for this video, which is probably an indication that I should read some more cheerful things. So I would love to hear what your comfort reads are. They don't have to be happy, they don't have to be light, but the things that you pick up when maybe anxiety is high or the world sucks or you just need some help to kind of get over the hump a little bit. Let me know what your favorite reads are. I post bookish content to this channel fairly frequently, so go ahead and hit subscribe, check back soon, and I will see you next time.